My cousin married my abusive ex-boyfriend and trashed me in her wedding speech, but my cousin Julia, 27, started dating my ex-boyfriend Louis, 29, 2 years ago. I'm also 27 and was in a relationship with Louis for 3 years. We got together after he graduated college while I was in my sophomore year. We broke up a couple of weeks after my 20th birthday. Honestly, the relationship was far from great, and I deeply regret that my first serious adult relationship was with someone like him. From the outside, we looked like the perfect couple, but the reality was completely different. He was incredibly insecure and controlling, banning me from things like going to bars with friends or even talking to guy friends. He constantly monitored me, and if I didn't do what he wanted, he'd manipulate and gaslight me, making me feel like I was the reason our relationship was failing. I was terrified of losing him and did everything I could to keep him from leaving, but it still wasn't enough. Eventually, he dumped me, saying it just wasn't working out, and then blocked me so I couldn't reach him. I tried hard to reconnect after the breakup, but he completely ghosted me. 2 months later, I heard from mutual friends that he already had a new girlfriend, so all my efforts were a total waste of time. After the breakup, we didn't talk for a long time. But when I turned 25, he unblocked me and sent a happy birthday message. I didn't respond, thinking it was weird that he was even contacting me, especially since I was already dating someone else by then. He kept messaging me despite my silence, so I ended up blocking him. We didn't speak for months after that. Then, a few months after my birthday, Julia invited me over to her place. When I got there, she said she wanted me to meet her new boyfriend, and it was Louis. Turns out, he'd messaged me on my birthday because he wanted to smooth things over before introducing himself as Julia's boyfriend. They'd met at work, started dating, and were super serious. Julia and I had been super close since childhood, so this was a total shock. She knew exactly how messy our breakup was and how toxic Louis had been toward me, so I was floored that they were together. She said she understood why I'd feel weird about it but asked me to give him a chance. I tried to process the news, but it was too much. I wanted to be happy for Julia, but Louis had caused me so much pain. He was my first serious relationship, high school and college were just crushes, and he'd really messed up my life. I was still so hurt by how he treated me. I tried to explain to Julia as tactfully as possible that, while I wished her happiness, I couldn't accept her being with Louis and didn't want to be part of her life anymore. She was really upset and tried to talk to me a few times, but I couldn't get past it. She, of all people, knew how toxic he was and how deeply he'd hurt me, yet she still chose to date him, claiming he'd changed and was better now. I didn't buy it. She was free to date him, I had no issue with that, but I also had the right to cut him, and by extension her, out of my life. It was a simple boundary for me. Of course, it was tough because Julia wasn't just my cousin, she was one of my best friends. But for my own peace of mind, I had to make that call. After she told me she was dating Louis, I pretty much stopped talking to her. For the last 2 years, we've been cold toward each other. When she realized I wasn't going to budge, she started acting distant too, and I don't blame her for that. We'd see each other at family events and just ignore each other, even though we used to stick together and gossip about everyone. Things changed, and honestly, I was fine with it. Everyone's got their own life, and I had no beef with Julia, I just didn't want to talk to her anymore. That was it. But apparently, she took it personally and wanted to get back at me. She started spreading nasty rumors about me among our relatives, trying to tank my reputation. I thought it was totally unnecessary, I'd never do that to her, no matter how strained things were. Over the past year, she kept saying I was the reason Louis and I broke up and that I had no morals. She and Louis spread lies that I flirted with other guys right in front of him, and that was supposedly why he got jealous and controlling. They painted me as some flirty gold digger who made him insecure, when in reality, it was the complete opposite. He was the one flirting with other girls and expected me to be fine with it, while freaking out if I so much as talked to male friends. He manipulated and gaslit me, slowly isolating me from everyone I cared about. It really stung that they were trying to smear me to my own family, but honestly, I was too busy with my life to take it too seriously. Plus, nobody really bought their stories, so I decided not to react. I knew reacting was exactly what they wanted, so I consciously refused to take the bait. Besides, I knew I could easily shut it down if I wanted to. All it would take was a conversation with my aunt, Julia's mom, who'd sort things out quick. Even though Julia and I weren't close anymore, I still had a great relationship with her mom. My aunt's a federal judge, and everyone knows she's got a no-nonsense attitude. She's my dad's older sister, and she's as fair as they come, never does anything shady or wrong. I have no idea how Julia turned out the way she did with a mom like that. One talk with my aunt would have ended the whole circus, but I also knew it'd hurt Julia big time since she relied on her mom financially. She recently started her own jewelry line, but from what I heard, it wasn't doing great. I didn't want to drag my aunt into petty drama and was confident I could handle it myself, so I kept quiet. Plus, I was kinda curious to see what ridiculous rumors they'd come up with next. My cousins would tell me whenever Julia was talking smack about me, so it almost became a running joke. Then, 6 months ago, Julia and Louis got engaged and announced their wedding date. My parents got an invite, but I didn't, which was fine by me. I wasn't expecting one, and even if I'd been invited, I wouldn't have gone, given everything with Julia and Louis. The wedding happened 3 days ago, and it was just a regular day for me. I wasn't thinking much about it until my phone started blowing up with messages from relatives. Everyone was buzzing about some speech Julia and Louis gave at the wedding, and I was totally confused. Then my parents called and said we needed to talk ASAP. They filled me in, and I was livid. Turns out, they used the wedding as a platform to give a disgusting speech about me, spreading all kinds of lies to a huge crowd. They wanted to turn my whole family against me and might have succeeded if I didn't have proof to clap back. They were sneaky enough not to say my name outright but kept mentioning some ex-girlfriend who wasn't at the wedding, which was obviously me. Who else could it be? They recycled all the rumors they'd been spreading, that I was a flaky gold digger who relied on Louis to pay for everything. They claimed he had to support me because I was a broke college student who demanded he cover my expenses. Total BS. I always insisted on splitting date costs 50-50 and never expected or asked him to pay for anything. But the worst part? They said I cheated on him, and that was why we broke up. At the wedding, they said they were so glad I was out of their lives and wasn't there because they didn't want that kind of negative energy around them. They even gave my family an ultimatum: from now on, it's either me or them at family events. If I'm there, they won't show up. After that, my phone was flooded with messages about the situation, but I got the full story from my parents. Like I said, I was furious. I thanked my parents for walking out of the wedding right after the speech, refusing to sit through Julia's nonsense. They also told me my aunt was completely baffled by the whole thing and confronted Julia and Louis to ask if what they said was true. It didn't sound like me at all, and she was right. I'd never done any of that. Her doubts about her daughter's lies were totally justified. After hearing what they said about me, I decided I was done holding back. I dug up old screenshots of texts that proved they were lying. It took a while to scroll through our old chats, but I finally found the messages from around our breakup when Louis was at his most toxic and cruel. He'd said awful things, like how he regretted ever dating me and wasted 3 years when he could have been with other girls since he had plenty of options. There was zero mention of me cheating. If I had, he wouldn't have let it slide so easily. I scrolled further and found more texts where he was just straight up toxic. I posted the screenshots online without any caption or explanation because the chats spoke for themselves. And they did. People started messaging me and commenting, saying they already knew the stuff said about me wasn't true. It seemed so out of character for me, especially since they'd known me forever. The screenshots proved it was all lies, and knowing my family had my back meant everything. A few people even told me they left the wedding because of what was said about me. So, while Julia and Louis thought they'd turn everyone against me, their speech backfired, and now nobody is on their side, not even my aunt, Julia's mom. They reached out right after the wedding, begging me to forgive them. Apparently, after my aunt saw the screenshots, she confronted them and said she was deeply disappointed in Julia for lying and trying to ruin my reputation just because I cut her off after she started dating my ex. By then, most of the guests had already left the wedding because of the drama. My aunt also told Julia she was upset by her behavior and expected better. She said she wouldn't have anything to do with them until Julia apologized to me and I forgave her. Then she walked out of the wedding, despite Julia's desperate attempts to change her mind. Julia relied heavily on her mom's financial support and was planning to shut down her failing business, which would have made her even more dependent. But with my aunt cutting her off, their plans fell apart, and Julia panicked about her future. That same night, they both called me, crying and apologizing, knowing they couldn't survive without my aunt's help. I was too angry about everything and refused to budge. I blocked them both, but they'd been desperately trying to reach me and convince me to change my mind. Now I'm genuinely torn. My aunt is an incredibly fair person. We talked the day after the wedding when she reached out to apologize for Julia's actions. I told her I didn't want my issues with Julia to ruin our relationship, and I never had before, so we're good. I know if I talked to my aunt, I could fix things for Julia, but honestly, I don't feel obligated to. She's a grown woman and should deal with the consequences of her actions. On the other hand, I feel uneasy knowing I could help but am choosing not to. I'm so confused, so please help. Am I wrong for not wanting to talk to my aunt and convince her to forgive Julia after she gave that awful speech smearing me at her wedding? So, let's hit pause on this story and drop your thoughts in the comments. Should I try to patch things up with Julia, or just do nothing? Personally, I think my doubts about not helping when I could are totally baseless. Julia could have just stayed out of it, but she didn't. She went out of her way to hurt me. So yeah, I think there's no need to do anything here. Update number 1. Hey, first off, huge thanks for all the comments and support. Before I dive into the update, I want to clear one thing up. My parents, along with other older family members, were at the wedding because they're from the older generation and had no clue about the rumors Louis and Julia were spreading about me. Those two mostly gossip to our cousins, people our age, not the older folks. So my parents had no idea what was being said about me and only went to the wedding out of respect for my aunt. They suspected something was off between me and Julia after she started dating Louis, but I purposely didn't tell them or complain to my aunt because I didn't want to drag them into petty drama. I was above that, unlike Julia and Louis. Point is, my parents weren't in the loop, so don't judge or get mad at them. As soon as they and other older relatives heard what was said about me at the wedding, they walked out and haven't spoken to Julia or Louis since. So that's cleared up, hopefully. Now, to the update. It's been a week since the wedding. I blocked Louis and Julia so they can't contact me, but that hasn't stopped them. They keep making new social media accounts and emailing me, even though I block them every time. They're desperate, but I'm firm I'm not stepping in or helping them. I'm still in touch with my aunt, and she's made it clear she'll only support Julia again if I forgive her. But honestly, I don't think I should have to forgive Julia. For a whole year, I stayed quiet and let them talk trash about me because I didn't take it seriously. They took that as a green light and crossed every line. Now they can deal with the fallout. One more thing, I don't even think Julia deserves her mom's support. She's almost 30, and to me, at that age, you should have your life figured out. I can't imagine still relying on my parents financially. It's not like she's uneducated or incapable, she's just always been too lazy to stick with a job. Even right after we graduated, she was like this, and I hoped she'd grow out of it, but nope. So in a way, I'm doing her a favor. Losing my aunt's financial help might finally force her to get serious and work. Either way, I've made up my mind. I'm not helping her. I talked to my parents to shake off any guilt, and they said they fully support my decision. Forgiving her is my choice, and I don't have to if I think she doesn't deserve it, even if I'm worried about her future. Plus, Louis still has a decent job and can support them both if they want to live without my aunt's help. I also talked to friends and you guys here, and most agree I have no reason to feel guilty. Honestly, that's made me feel so much better. I did end up deleting the post with the screenshots because there was no point keeping it up. My family already knew what happened, and I didn't want it sitting on my profile since I have other followers who'd need context. It was easier to just take it down. Right now, I'm focusing on myself and trying to let go of the anger and guilt that's been building up. I'm back to meditating to stay calm and process everything. I really hope Julia and Louis start focusing on their own lives instead of obsessing over me and making me the reason they get out of bed. That'd be better for everyone. Update number 2, hey, it's been a month since the wedding, and from what I've heard, Louis and Julia are back at it. My aunt still isn't talking to them because I haven't forgiven them, and at this point, I don't feel like I have to. I know their apologies weren't genuine, they only said sorry to get my aunt's money. They didn't feel bad, they just wanted financial support. A few days after failing to convince me to forgive them and talk to my aunt, they gave up when I didn't respond. Then they started spreading rumors again, but this time they got creative. Now they're telling everyone I'm deliberately trying to ruin their relationship with my aunt because I wanted to steal all the inheritance. It's complete nonsense, absurd. Like I'd ever do that. My parents are doing fine financially, and I have a good job. I don't even think about inheritance because, God willing, I'll never need to rely on anyone. Maybe they're the ones obsessed with money, so they assume I am too. They're telling this story to anyone in the family they run into, which happens a lot since we all live in the same city, and they're neighbors with some relatives. People are avoiding them like the plague, but they still find ways to bring me up. I don't get why they're so fixated on me. I've done nothing for a month, just ignored them, and they still can't let it go. Last week, I got fed up and told my aunt everything. She said even if they apologize now, she's done with them. She told Julia that directly and blocked her again. Now they're even madder at me. I know because they made another email account and sent me a super nasty message. It's the only way they can reach me now. They said I'd pay for this. Yeah, real scary. I get that they're losing it, and while I'm not actually scared, it's annoying as hell. I replied, saying if they try anything, I'll call the cops and have them locked up without hesitation, so they better think twice. Hopefully, that cools them off. If not, I've got a solid home security system. Update number 3, 4 days ago, I got an email from Louis and Julia saying I'd have to answer for everything I've done. I warned them again, if they try anything, I'm calling the police. But that didn't stop them, and they did the dumbest thing possible. Last night, they tried to break into my house. Julia's been to my place plenty of times, so she knows I have a top-notch security system. The second they even touched the door, it alerted me. I don't know why they thought my door would be unlocked in the middle of the night. I immediately called the police and reported an attempted break-in. I had a hunch it was them but didn't want to take chances. The cops showed up about 15 minutes later, and lucky for me, they caught them nearby trying to flee. They were dressed like actual burglars on bicycles. They tried telling the police they knew me and weren't stealing, just wanted to talk and scare me a little. I don't know why they admitted that, like it makes it any less illegal. The second they cuffed Julia, she started sobbing and begging me not to press charges. But I'm done feeling sorry for her. You can't keep messing up and expect forgiveness. Louis just glared at me with pure hatred, but I didn't care, I'm used to it. After that, I went back to bed since I had work early. In the morning, I told my aunt and parents, who already knew. Julia used her one phone call to beg my aunt to bail her out, but my aunt didn't even visit her. So now, nobody knows what's next. I'm definitely filing a report to get a restraining order. They've clearly lost it, and I'm done dealing with them. That's it, no more updates for now, sadly. The only thing bugging me is this: do you think Julia's mom is doing the right thing by completely cutting her off like this? I've said in other stories that I don't fully get moms who do this. No matter how bad your kid is, why go that far? I get not giving money or bailing them out of jail, but cutting off all contact? That feels a bit off to me, though I totally understand why some moms do it. Drop your thoughts in the comments, let's talk about it. Thanks for sticking with this story. Check out our other videos linked here, subscribe for more drama like this, and good luck.